On February 6th, Fan Xie, a sophomore student from the University of Pennsylvania, was invited to Golden Youth Speech. He's a straight A student and is also a young man with a wide range of interests, being proficient in piano, Chinese martial arts, dance, and computer science. Fan Xie shared his methods of how he takes care of all the aspects of his life and balances his time.
我是谢凡，我来自于休斯顿，德州。我一直都是在美国长大的。我们在大学和高中这4年，大学4年和高中4年中间，我们需要做非常多的决定，因为有非常多的机会，不同的压力，然后需要选择，我们应该怎么样子在这4年安排我们需要做什么，达到我们最终的目的。
For most children, their hobbies likely stem from the guidance of their parents while they are still young. However, once they are in high school, many times they can perform well in these hobbies and even win awards, which can become valuable for college applications. But from another perspective, the children are also under immense pressure by participating in these activities. The activities become pure hobbies, and because of university studies, many people may give up on them after entering college.
我6岁的时候就开始弹钢琴，然后我弹钢琴在高中的时候，赢了一些比赛，然后我武术也是9岁的时候开始的，科学呢，在科学方面上面，我是在我们的 Science Olympiad 俱乐部里面参加了4年，然后最后1年当了 President， 就是总统的这个俱乐部的总统，在计算机方面上面，我也创造了一个 club 叫 Computer Science National Honor Society， 这一个俱乐部就是专门为我们旁边的老师或者是旁边的学生，中学生、高中生，教他们怎么样子用电脑，教他们怎么样子编程序，就是专门去帮别人学这一个计算机的。在这么多东西之间，我到大学以后，我一个都没有放弃。我现在在宾大是当一个计算机的本科生，然后我在音乐中间呢，我参加了一个叫 Chamber Group 的Chamber Music 的俱乐部，也就是我和另外一个非常优秀的钢琴家一起在弹。
However, under the pressure of university studies, Fan Xie did not let himself give up on his interests, but rather viewed it as an opportunity. The University of Pennsylvania has more than 700 student clubs, and each club has many students who come together over their love of the same activity. In addition to self-discipline, Fan Xie uses a project planning tool to organize his daily life. Before the end of each year, Fan Xie will specify his goals, add the courses from his major to the form for selection, figure out what clubs he should join, and finally decide on a plan for the school year. Of course, he makes sure nothing comes at the expense of his sleep time. His exhaustive plan, strict self-discipline, and regular schedule can ensure that he has enough energy to reach his goals and achieve both academic success and pursue after his hobbies.
但是这一个我讲的大学的这些压力，也就是到大学以后过完了也就是过完了，所以一定需要有这种平衡，因为你如果能一边就是把你的成绩做好，功课做得很好，然后把你的兴趣爱好也都培养得很好的话，到大学毕业了以后，工作也拿到了以后，这些事情就是你又有你的兴趣爱好，但是你也又拿到了你在职位上面或者是一个钱上面的一种稳定度，这是一个非常难平衡的事情。最开始就是在高中的时候，或者是说我可以说从我小学的时候开始，就是睡觉要睡得好，身体这一件事情是非常重要的。对我来讲，我如果睡不好的话，那我肯定不会在宾大读书。我每天我在上小学一直上到高中的时候，我一直都是11点钟的时候睡觉，然后早上7点半的时候我就起来，差不多没有几天，1年中间可能就2-3天从这一个时间就是破坏这一个睡觉的时间，但是平常都会是按时的在这一个时间睡觉，这是因为我知道我第2天我肯定需要 前一天晚上休息好才能工作的好。我一直都是按照这个方法去生活的吧。除了就是没有学校的时候，暑假的时候可能不同，我花更多的时间去做一些别的事情。但是有这个安排，就可以让你慢慢的在每一个事情上面都成长的非常多。所以我到大学里面我也没有变，我这一个每天安排的，我会想读这么多一页这本书，这本中文的书，或者是看这么多学日语的视频，或者是每个星期要锻炼，这些东西我写下来了以后，保持我每一个月都会达到我想达到的目的。所以我现在可以开始讲第二题，就是到大学以后怎么样子可以怎么样子去选课，或者是怎么样子去选你的专业。这一个选择是一个非常难的选择因为很多人肯定会觉得你选了这个以后肯定是在你一生都会有影响的。像我刚才说的，有一些外在的压力，还有你内心的兴趣爱好，这两个东西很多时候都是不配的。去当医生，或者是去一些非常多学生学的一些专业，像计算机，但是你并不喜欢这些专业，你并不想当医生，这两个东西不配的时候，就非常难选你的专业。这个我也不能说我有一个非常好的答案，但是需要也像我刚才说的，需要平衡这两件事情。肯定是平常你如果选一个挣不了钱的专业，这个也不是一个特别好的选择。但是我说不能挣到钱这一个事情，也是一个很难确定的事情，因为很多人在学英语或者是学艺术上面也能做得非常好，这个是很难说好。但是如果你对你自己的内心想的话，你问你自己，我真的喜欢什么？我是不是对这个专业特别的喜欢？不只是因为我觉得它有一点味道我去做，但是我想我毕业了以后我一定想做这件事情做一生的话，那就应该选。但是这个事情肯定是要考虑很多不同的一些点子去选的。如果你有很多兴趣爱好，但是你觉得一个专业不能覆盖你的这些兴趣爱好的话，也有double major， 就是2个专业。这个有的时候可能会很难，因为2个专业需要的课量非常多，所以要看不同的专业放到一起，可能会非常难在4年中间学完。所以我建议，如果不管你想选哪一个专业，你最开始就要安排一下你4年中间每一个学期会选哪些课，先把这个专业里面的课都写下来，放到一个 spreadsheet 里面，像 Excel 或者是 Google Sheets， 然后再写下来你想上的不同的别的课，就不在专业里面，但是你觉得有兴趣的课也放到里面。这些课你可以到处乱放，你看最后呢，我想讲一下选俱乐部和选，就是大概就是讲选你的兴趣爱好这种事情肯定看不完的。所以第一你要知道你自己喜欢什么。对我来讲，我是喜欢艺术方面的东西，我喜欢跳舞，我喜欢武术钢琴音乐方面的东西但是这一个类似这一个的艺术的俱乐部有非常多的然后也有不同的俱乐部，像我们有 business 的俱乐部，或者是sports 的俱乐部，好多不同的俱乐部。但是最好就是在学校的那个 club fair 那一天，去找你有兴趣的这些俱乐部，然后见他们中间的人，跟他们讲话，看看他们做的事情和他们的里面的人是不是你喜欢的，然后就可以都去申请。因为在不同的大学有不同的这种 process， 但是在我们学校呢，很多俱乐部都是需要申请才能进去的。
During the Q&A session that took place after the presentation, Fan Jie answered many questions that the audience was very curious about, like the value of extracurriculars in applying for college, how to find computer science internships while in high school, and see his own passion for his major in CS.
In your opinion, what activities or achievements did you do during high school that were valued by UPenn? I definitely think that it was a combination of all the activities that I did, because I had achieved many things in terms of piano, science, and martial arts, but I would think it's mostly, the things I did that are related to the major I applied to, which is computer science. So in computer science, I did have, 2 internships throughout high school. I had a research class in senior year where I was able to work on this solid state battery analysis. I don't know if you know what a solid state battery is, but it's what's trying to be used in electric cars for better efficiency. And I was able to win 2nd place at the Houston Science Fair because of that research. So I think those 3 things, plus some computer science competitions, those were the core of the activities or achievements that I think UPenn recognized because I was trying to apply as a computer science major. Of course, I did have other awards such as piano awards or Wushu awards, but those were more extraneous when it comes to considering an applicant for computer science, if you know what I mean. Okay, how do you juggle all the activities and still maintain high grades? It's definitely not easy, and I don't think it was very easy when I was going through it at all. But as I said, when I was speaking in Chinese, is that you need to create a very strict routine. I was saying that sleep is super important, and I still think it's super important to my work ethic. Being able to focus in class saved me a lot of time outside of class so that I didn't have to study as much on my own, and I could spend most of the time on schoolwork in school. And that only happened because I was sleeping well. So yeah, but allocating, like an hour or 2 to all the things that you do is definitely enough to sustain, all the activities that you do, but make sure it's like focused. Of course, there's always like a limit to how much you can do. I think that, if I added any more things to my list of interests, it might not have gone as well. So definitely try to know what your limits are, push those limits, but at the same time, like recognize there are only that many hours in a day. Yeah, how do I develop how do you develop leadership in high school? And can you recommend some fun coding app for boys at age 13? I'm not sure about the second one because I didn't really start doing computer science until high school. But in high school, developing leadership starts with being committed to a club or a cause that isn't even like a club yet. So for me, I was in Science Olympiad for starting my freshman year, and like starting my 2nd year, I became an officer. And it's pretty clear that because I put a lot of effort into working on my events and working with people, that I was going to be a competent officer. And I'd say you want to make a good impression on people. You want to be responsible for everything you do in clubs, and then naturally leadership positions open themselves up when the current leaders see that you're responsible, you're on time with your work, you're trustworthy and things like that. And the sponsors also see like that. So the sponsors as in the teachers who lead that club. Once that happens, it's pretty easy, or I wouldn't say it's pretty easy. I would say it more naturally follows that, a leadership position would come to you. Of course, you have to try very hard. There are definitely a lot of people that will also want the same position. So, but yeah, I think if you, work well with people and try your best, I think you should be able to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So how did I find computer internships in high school? So the first one I did was actually a connection from my computer science teacher who recommended me to him, to, this company. And it wasn't, like super official. I didn't get paid or anything, but I was able to, work on the things that they did. And it was really cool. I did not do that one over the summer. I did that one in, during the school year, the second semester. I went like twice a week. The second one I did do over the summer, and I just contacted them on WeChat pretty much. And I was able to, it was a startup, a local startup, and they didn't have many people, but I was able to work on this really cool project on making a graphical interface for, recording plant growth in different light conditions and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know if that exactly answers your question. It comes down to like connections, but also like you should apply to anything that is available on the internet, such as like Indeed and things like that. It might not be helpful for high school students, but I think connections would be the best. Yeah. How many intern jobs did I apply to? I didn't actually apply to many. So as a high school student, there's a limited amount of things that you can do because, your skill set is not entirely developed. Generally, it can be hard to find, but if you know that they're willing to take in, students to just learn, then it becomes much easier. I didn't apply to many at all, just because, the first one I had was a connection from my computer science teacher, so I didn't really apply. And the second one, I just went through, a few people, maybe like 4 or 5 people before I found like the right one. So, yeah. But on the topic of that, finding research is kind of like a similar thing. So I did mention that I did do research in computer science later on. And, that required me to email a lot more professors because some of them, definitely don't want to work with high school students. They don't think it's worth their time. But there are some that are nice enough and they want to work with you, and they'll, once you have one person that, accepts you, that's all you need. That one took, maybe around 10 emails or so. But yeah. I manage my community service. Do you think it is very important? Okay, yes. I think to answer the second question first, I think community service is very important. It puts you out there. It puts you in the community and you're doing like very good work for your community. And I managed my community service by creating, this club called Computer Science National Honor Society. But it's not like that was the first thing I did. I started off in ninth grade when I joined Science Olympiad, and they already had a pre-existing program to teach the local middle schoolers about Science Olympiad and about science in general. And okay, what advice would you give to do well in Spanish? Spanish in particular, I think you have to really, try to speak it. For me, it was, reading and writing it was easier than speaking and listening to it. But I think you should really try to speak it so that it sticks in your brain. But in general, I think learning languages, since I started learning Japanese 1.5 years ago, I think, just having exposure to it every day, memorizing some vocabulary, trying to apply what you've maybe learned about grammar the past day in some way or some form. That's what makes it stick over time.
Last question.
Okay. Do you think learning playing music instruments like piano helps your academic study? What do you benefit from the music? Honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you like straightforwardly if that was, a real effect on my academic study, but I would definitely say that it has helped maybe in my memorization. I can't say anything for sure, but I think music in general isn't just for, academic study. It's for this, enjoyment and fulfillment that you get from music itself. This is more of, this like emotional or mental level than, a academic level. That's not the best way to put it, but I think you kind of see what I mean. Music is more for the enjoyment of, like the soul rather than for studying. Yeah. Okay. What brought you to computer science? What computer-related experience did you have before starting high school? Okay, well, what brought me to computer science was clearly like, this, everything around me is getting like improved so drastically by computers. And my brother became a computer science major in college. And I was like, wait, I think, maybe that sounds like something really cool because you can help so many people out there with, software because, all the problems these days are, super large scale and it requires a lot of computational power that, humans just don't have. And if you have the skills to do computer science, then maybe you can solve huge scale problems, like climate change or poverty issues or, economic inequality and things like that. We can't even seem to comprehend, on the scale with just our brains alone because it's too big to think about. But, computers can do that. So that's kind of why I got interested in it. On another perspective, though, I did, as a child, I was like a really avid gamer and things like that. So I really like computers anyways. So that's what got me into it. I didn't really have that much experience before starting high school. I maybe tried coding a little bit in Java before, but didn't really do much, Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Kevin Steady.
What CS languages do you know and what do you want to achieve with CS? Okay, so CS languages that I know, there are a bit, that I know. I would say the best ones that I know are Python and Java. I have used, C++, JavaScript, HTML, things like that before. And there are definitely a lot of, smaller or more specific languages that I've used before that I can't, remember off the top of my head. But I would say, in general, the most important two would be Java and Python. What do I want to achieve with CS? That's a good question. Like I said before, I think, these large scale problems are things that I really want to tackle. But also in general, I think, interdisciplinarity is this thing that is really, becoming prevalent. You have the environmental scientists, and then you have, the economists, you have the material scientists, and they all have one thing in common, and that is they need software, they need computers. They need computers to do their research, and they need computers to advance what they're doing. So I think it's really cool that I'm able to learn, a field that can be applied to so many different disciplines and maybe, help them in a significant way.
How many
How many Chinese American students are in my CS? How about Indian American students, and how many white students? Honestly, I don't know an exact number. There's a good amount of each. So I would say in total, our CS department has about, 200 or so students per grade. And I think you could just say that, these three groups of students make up a huge majority of them.
Thanks to Fanxie for sharing. We often envy those around us who are full of energy and have time to do everything they want to in life. Hopefully, Fanxie's sharing enlightened many of us. A proper plan and good self-control makes it possible for each of us to reach for the stars. I'm Jason Qian, and this is BYTV News.